Thank you. Mr. Coffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank all three of you for your service to our country. Admiral Stavridis, if I'm saying it right, the Government Accounting Office has criticized EUCOM, European Command, and U.S. Army Europe for its cost assessments regarding options for retaining 4 brigade combat teams in Europe, saying the analyses were quote-unquote poorly documented, limited in scope, and based on questionable assumptions, unquote. What have you done to correct this problem? Do you agree with the GAO? Will retention of 3 or 4 brigade combat teams in Europe add significant infrastructure sustainment costs? And what are the cost implications?
Well, this is an area in which there's been a great deal of analysis going both ways. And I would say that, first of all, I'll provide you, because it's detailed and technical, I'd like to come back to you on the record and provide that in some measured way to you. As a general proposition, I think over the last year we have become much closer in the way we viewed this as between Department of Army, EUCOM, GAO, and OSD, because OSD has really stepped up and led the study that the chairman asked me about earlier. So as the results of that study come out, I think you'll have an opportunity to see that we have brought this analysis together in a way that's sensible. The root of the question is always, do you save money or do you spend more money when you forward deploy troops from CONUS or from a forward European command platform, if you will? And so there's been some back and forth between the entities you mentioned, Congressman, in regard to everything from cost of shipping to moving from, we would say, from fort to port and port to fort and port forward. So I would say over the last year we've brought that analysis together, and it's reflected in the report that will come out shortly, and I will get you more of the technical detail and provide it to you.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question in regard to that. If forces based in Europe are not committed to combat operations in Afghanistan and Iraq, in your opinion, how many brigade combat teams should be forward based in Europe?
Well, I think that it's difficult to answer that question, and I would point here to the Libya operation in the sense of we never know what's going to pop up. And obviously we're not sending ground troops to Libya. That's very clear. However, it's indicative of the potential for emergence of new tasking. So the analysis that we have provided to the Department of Defense reflects the potential for change in the world, and the change can be good as we transition in Afghanistan and reduce it, and the change potentially can be bad if we see an emergent mission somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe that the operation right now in Libya has the appropriate force mix between U.S. and coalition forces?
I do, and I would say that we today in NATO took over the mission, and we are reducing the U.S. component of it measurably, and I think you'll see our allies increasingly engaged, and that's appropriate. And the mix of forces are sea and air forces, since we're not going to use ground troops there. And certainly that's good in the sense that it's different than the forces that we need in Afghanistan, a landlocked country. So I believe we're adequately resourced at the moment at NATO, and I believe that the balance between U.S. and coalition is appropriate.
Let me just say one word for the record that the President said in his speech, I think on Monday night, that it took 8 years to do regime change in Iraq. Actually, it took 3 weeks to do regime change in Iraq. It took 8 years in the aftermath of that regime change, given the fact that there was then a humanitarian catastrophe and sectarian warfare that dragged the U.S. into it for 8 years. General Fraser, could you speak a little bit about China and its growing influence in Latin America?
Thank you, Congressman. Today I see it primarily in the diplomatic and the commercial realm, really in a two-way street. if you will. Many of the countries and nations within Latin America and the Caribbean are reaching out to China as they see that as an economic opportunity for them, as well as China coming in and working within Latin America. Outside of Asia, Latin America is the second destination for Chinese investment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Bordello.